Mhm.
We're in Siman Reish Mem Ches Tiv Daled. Basically, gonna wrap up this Siman over here that we're on from at least what's inside in the Mishnah Berura, and then when we resume again after Shabbos and after Yontif, after Shavuos, we're gonna point out extra points on the Siman which are incredibly relevant, which we didn't already discuss. So that's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna run through the just the Mishnah Brews over here. Nothing fancy. And then, like I said, after Yantav, we'll see if there's any other insights to add. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Hayoitzin b'shayara b'midbar. Someone's going out in a caravan in the desert, traveling in a large group. V'hakol yoidim shehim srichim l'chal Shabbos. Everyone knows that they need to desecrate Shabbos. Ki mebnei hasakana lo yuchalu la'akeh b'midbar b'Shabbos l'vadam. Right? Because it's a dangerous situation over here, they're not able to delay in the desert on Shabbos by themselves. So the idea is that they know beforehand that they're going to need to violate Shabbos based on their current travel plan. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Shloisha yamim koidim Shabbos asurim lasis. So within 3 days before Shabbos, they're not allowed to go out on that trip because they know that they're going to violate Shabbos. So this is similar to what we learned about in the beginning of the Simon with boats, with ships, right? Yachts, cruise ships, whatever it is. If you're going for optional travels, so if it's within 3 days of Shabbos, it's going to be a problem. Same idea over here. However, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it will be permissible to go. And if afterwards Ye'era lo sakana, a danger happened, the yitzarech l'cha lo Shabbos v'mnei pikuach nefesh. If a danger happened afterwards and you're going to need to violate Shabbos because of pikuach nefesh, you got to save someone's life. Mutter is permissible. Being kanchil, that's not considered desecration of Hashem's name. So we clearly see that there's a distinction as to when one is going to be traveling. If he's going to be traveling and he knows he's going to violate Shabbos, he can't do it within 3 days of Shabbos, but before 3 days of Shabbos, it would be permissible. That's the idea over here. All right. So comes along the Mishnah Berurah. L'chal Shabbos. Guy knows that he's going to violate Shabbos. Afilu b'sidarabanan. We're even talking about rabbinically transgressing Shabbos. That's the Magen Avram quoting the Rivash. Here's a Shiles and Tshuva say for the Rivash, part of the black set. Chavav u'b'yom harishon v'sheni u'b'shlishi kfar nizbar hatam mishum dehim nekroim al shem Shabbos ha'ava v'in sarach lizar ata shlo yavo l'dichilu Shabbos haba. The days Monday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are they basically apply to the previous Shabbos, not the upcoming Shabbos. It's the Shabbos that we already had. So therefore, let me zoom this in actually. So therefore, since it applies to the previous Shabbos, you don't need to be careful right now that you won't come to desecrate Shabbos. You don't need to worry about it. So that's the idea, because it's already to the earlier Shabbos. ובכנסת הגדול כתוב בשם הרי בן לב, תכשיודע בוודאי שיבוא לידי חילול Shabbos, אסר אף בכי הגוונה. That if a person knows with certainty that he's going to come to desecrate Shabbos, it's going to be a problem even in this scenario. AKA, you're not going to even be able to leave on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. You're not going to be able to. Chen Kosav Harabaz. That's what the Rabaz writes as well in his Shalos Chuvas. Excellent. Shalos Chuvas Sefer. Va'al pizeh soimchin achrav shemesachnin ba'atzmo k'tzat shelo l'chal b'Shabbos. Kedei shelo yeh isser l'mafrei al ma sheyotze. And this is what people rely on now, that what do? That they go out on they endanger themselves, which means they put themselves in a little bit of danger not to desecrate Shabbos in order that they won't come to a prohibition retroactively because they left. In other words,
They take the appropriate precautions, right?
I think what this is saying over here is they'll danger themselves a little bit.
Right, so as not to be Michal Shabbos.
Right, meaning if they know for sure they're not gonna. Right. Yeah, how does the Oz V'Hadar learn that line? What is that? Chavav? What was that Chavav in there?
Right.
Let's see if they translate that. Yeah, Chavav. So the Lashon is a little magumgum. Okay. Seems like they would cause a danger not to violate Shabbos, but it says Pikuach Nefesh pushes off Shabbos. It says over here, V'al Pizeh, She'im Yodeh Bavadi She'isar Chlav Shabbos, also let's say Safilu B'Techil Sashua. So, as we said, if a person knows with certainty that he's going to need to desecrate Shabbos, he's not allowed to go out, even in the beginning of the week. He's not allowed to go out, right? If he knows he's gonna. But nowadays, some people that when they go in the shayara, they go in that caravan, they danger themselves not to desecrate Shabbos. Oh, okay. So they call it. So what they do in order not to violate Shabbos is they actually remain in the desert.
Are you
So
saying it's a good thing?
yeah, because it's not a vaday sakana. It's ksas. It's saknat ksas. They're endangering themselves just a little bit. In the footnote, they said the Radbaz over there brings many Rishonim who argue on the Razah. And they hold that you're not even allowed to go even before 3 days if you know for sure that you're going to desecrate Shabbos. And at the end, he says this is the general rule. So I can't permit such a thing. But no, comes only in the Rabbah and says, no, you do what the Shulchan Aruch says, you could go on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's fine. All right. So what to chew on over there? Um, let's take a look at the next idea that they say over here. So what do? They danger themselves a little bit. Al yedei zeh sheyelech matzchutz l'tchum. Okay, so let's follow through. So it says in order, so they danger themselves a little bit in order that they won't need to through this go outside of the tchum of Shabbos. And then there's going to be retroactive prohibition over there. It's going to be Isser L'Mafreya that they went out. So that's going to be the problem. So it seems like it's a slight sakana. So that's the story over there. All right.
We opening up the possibility that a person can, for pikuach, I guess for pikuach nefesh, you can walk outside the tchum. I guess that's our name, right?
Yeah, if it's Vadai, for sure. We have to realize that there's over here between what the Knesset Gedolah, what the Rebbein Lev is saying. He says if you know for sure, you can't do that. Right? But if you don't know for sure, then you could.
Now, what happens if you're in a b'diavad situation? Let's say you thought you would be in the desert, right, and you're
Yeah.
going to make it with no problem. Then problems arose, whatever the reasons are.
If it's definitely a life and death, then you got to violate it.
So, so I guess I want to bring that to the modern day. Let's say a
Yeah.
person left for Shabbos, with no problem. I don't know if they have any
For
food.
traveling before
For
Shabbos?
traveling before
And he
Shabbos.
thought he was going to get to his destination?
Yeah.
That's going to be next simon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Next simon, we're going to be doing deep dives nowadays. How far could you travel before Shabbos? Now, see, look at David. Look at him. He's leaning up. He's interested. Now he's interested. You see? It's when you bring the food over, they start running over. That's
Wait,
got to reel in the
getting
pain.
food is pekuach nefesh?
We're going to talk about driving cars. We're going to talk about trains. We're going to talk about, I know it's no gay to a lot of us, our private jets, how much time they need to set out before Shabbos. We're going to talk about, I know also our yachts, very applicable, how much time you need. You want to travel from one of your houses to your sixth house that you have. So cross the water on the island, gets no gay. So we're going to start talking about all of that. That's going to be the next sermon, yeah? All right. Moving right along. Now, Chav Zayin over here. So what's this talking about? So this is saying in the Shulchan Aruch over here. He said that if afterwards a danger happened and you need to violate Shabbos, that's okay. Remember, because you left in a green light situation. This is talking about if you left on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's okay. So says the Mishnah Berura on Chav Zayin. Roy Tzalamer, Kevan de Mamela Nis Saviv Hadavar Lebasov. Since everything at the end will get circled around. That's literally what it means. It will get circled around. Uba'oinu shall pikuach nefesh in kan chilul. And in a situation of an extenuating circumstance of pikuach nefesh, there's no desecration of Shabbos. In other words, you thought you had a green light, and then later was a red light. You thought you were going to be good, you weren't going to need to violate Shabbos, and then you did need to, right? So therefore, it's fine. Pashut l'kuli alma asur l'avtiach l'shar be'esh yishtati v'mayim she'yisayim be'ezeh asiyas malacha b'Shabbos. Obvious that according to everyone, it's prohibited to guarantee the people in the caravan, when you're combining with them, that they should assist you with doing some malacha on Shabbos. V'afilu malacha derabanan. Even if the malacha that you're going to do, the work that you're going to do on Shabbos is only rabbinically prohibited, it's still a problem. Even though that through this, the traveling that you're going to do is going to get nullified because they're not going to want to combine with you. Even if it's for a mitzvah, it's if you're stipulating explicitly to desecrate Shabbos, and therefore it would be a problem. What about if you're going to Israel? Let's say someone's going to Israel over here.
Necessarily means moving there to live. You're just going to Israel.
Traveling there, yeah. If you had a caravan that chanced upon you even Erev Shabbos, kevan the davar mitzvah hu yachol lifresh. Since it's for a mitzvah, you're able to go with him. Seems like you are moving there. So this is actually going to be a discussion in the Mishnah Berura, it seems like. Yesh Ayrim, some said, I think the last time I learned this was 10 years ago. Yesh Ayrim, dahainu dafka kedei lehiz yashiv sham, yesh Ayrim dafilam nas lachzer. So there's an argument. Some say specifically if you're going to be dwelling there permanently. Others say even if it's on the Kedishu to return. If you're just merely walking 4 amos, 8 feet in Israel, that's a mitzvah. Especially what it says, the Ramah at the end of the siman, that's definitely a mitzvah. Most people who say that they're going to be moving to Eretz Yisrael officially, they call it
Yeah.
Aliyah, not an Aliyah. So they do the Nefesh B'Nefesh programs and everything. Statistically, if I'm not mistaken, a large amount of people return within 5 or 10 years.
Really?
Yep. Yep, that's right. There are, I mean, you could Google it, look up the stats and everything, but there are definitely people who can't do it because financially, culturally, socially, there's a lot of different lees over there. Usually the spiritually isn't the problem because you're going to Eretz Yisrael. But anyways, you would be surprised, right?
Yeah.
Depends where you go. There are plenty of places you could go that could be worse. Yeah, there are, unfortunately.
What?
But yeah,
Every 4 amos a person takes their Israel. That's a mitzvah. It's a separate mitzvah in itself.
yeah, that's right.
Wait,
That's right.
Wow.
where does it say that? What?
Yeah, that's right over here, David. Every 4 amos that you go in Israel is a mitzvah. Let's take a look at the pay over here, yeah? It's implied from the Rivash. He proves that if you go to Israel, it's a mitzvah. The Gemara at the end of Ksubas has some statements about the importance of Israel. One of the statements is anyone who goes 4 amos in Israel is guaranteed to get the next world. Muftach lo shu bein olam haba. So all you got to do is pay a couple $1,000, get off the plane in Israel, walk 8 feet, and then you could go on the return flight. Your life's finished. Your life work is finished. That's all you need to do. That's it. You get the next world. Right? Muftachlo.
Pretty heavy statement.
Now, obviously, when you see statements like this, you got to analyze the thing. You know, this doesn't mean that you could kill 5 million people and you just walk 8 steps in Israel and you get the next world. This doesn't mean you could worship every idol in the world and you're gonna get the next world. This means everything equal. You gotta. This will help. It will assist.
What does that mean, though? That means that you also have to do other stuff too.
That's
So
right.
why?
It's a
So why is
special
it?
thing,
What's
but
what's the point of the statement?
one of the statement is that it's a very powerful and strong mitzvah. That's what it means.
Okay, but that doesn't
Everything
say
equal, this will tip the scales. Muftach lo shu bein olam haba.
everything equal. I think
This doesn't mean that you can sin all day though and not do mitzvahs.
it's only speaking with the kedushas and the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. It's not speak. It's not. It's not saying. It's saying. What is it actually saying?
It's saying that if you walk 4 amos there, you will get the next world. AKA that it's a davar chashuv, it's an important thing, and you get rewarded.
That's not. It's not. It's not. It's not emes. I'm saying it's not.
It is emes. It's saying that this is a big thing. Don't underestimate. This is a Gemara. What do you mean it's not emes? You don't want to be a apikoris saying you say it's not emes, then you have no.
No, but I'm saying.
What do you
But
mean?
I'm saying. But I'm saying.
Could it be the times have changed? Maybe that's what.
Times haven't changed.
It was very hard back then to get.
No, no, no. It's no. I'm saying.
No.
Now you just gonna
No. It could be that when we say that you'll get olam haba, we know there's a difference between, not that I go for this, but you know, there's a qualitative difference if you're sitting in the bleachers versus if you're sitting courtside. Sitting in the bleachers around $50 a ticket. Courtside is around $5,000 a ticket. It's a little bit of an experience. So lahavdil, that's why they have stadiums, so we can understand what olam haba is going to be like. You're gonna see in the bleachers, you're not gonna be able to see squat. Right? I always found it funny people who go to the bleachers for a hockey game. You push, you can't see the puck. What are you even watching?
I want to be reversed in all haba. I mean, the better guys are in the bleachers. It's less distracting.
Less distracting. What do you mean?
No, you want
Olam haba is like
that you want to be up close for.
Do you want to be up close? What do you mean? What's olam haba? It's the Gemara and Brachos on Yud Zayin. It's ein bo echila, ein bo shtia. There's no business. There's no competition. It's tzaddikim yoishin v'aturteim b'roshem v'nehenim miziv hashchina, the Gemara says. Tzaddikim is sitting down. They got the crowns on. They're getting from the radiance of the Shekhinah, getting pleasure from them. You're learning Torah all day.
Yes, I'm saying who cares? You're down, you're up.
Oh, very good. Certain seats are going to be better. Accommodations.
Because you're sitting next to better
For
people.
spiritual reason, right? Exactly. We just discussed, we were learning Avos. I'm assuming you probably already watched the shir that I gave, which is why it talks about that Harchik Mishachin Ra, in the seventh mission of Avos. You distance yourself from a bad neighbor. Wait, why do you need to come on to that? It says in the adjacent statement, Al Taschaber Russia. You don't attach yourself to a Russian. You know not to attach yourself to someone wicked, for sure. You distance yourself from a bad neighbor. Right? The idea is a good environment. I mean, big elaboration. Bad neighbors we're talking about. Anyways, so what this means over here is that, first of all, you got to learn this up. You got to look at all the mafarshim. To start, you look at the Marsha, you look at the Yalka Mafarshim in the back, take a look at the footnotes of the article, look at the Mesivta, take a look at the Nitzotzi Hashas, Margalios Hashas, look at the Ben Yahu, look at the Ben Yoyod, look at the Yaakov with the Mafarshim on the bottom. There's a lot of svarim to look into before we just jump to conclusions on a profound statement that is quoted in the Gemara. You have to research it properly before you jump to conclusions. We're all just trying to guesstimate what the intention of the Gemara is. I'm offering an explanation over here based on another Gemara that says, I think it actually might be the Gemara in Tainis Daf Tes, Aser to Aser b'shvil shetzis Aser. If you give tzedakah, you'll get wealthy, right? So the question is, what do you mean many people tried to do it and they didn't do it? So the Ben Ish Chai over there explains that no, you can't just do that and then expect to get rewarded. You have to calculate, you have other sins over here that you're dealing with, other than mitzvahs that you aren't doing. Person has to, make that. So I'm taking that idea and applying it over here. When you have a statement of Chazal that guarantees you walk 8 feet in Israel, you're guaranteed to get the next world. You have to figure out what else though is on the scales. Everything else that you do won't just magically get forgiven because you walk 8 feet. If you're walking 8 feet in Israel and you're only walking to murder someone, for sure, what's the walking of that 8 feet doing? Squat. So you got to make a calculation. Anyways. All right, so the Knesset Haggadah quotes the Rivash, who says that only if you're going with the intention over here of what? Of to settle over there, it's a mitzvah, right? So it could be the 4 amos that the Gemara is talking about. You walk 8 feet, that's only talking about, yeah, the first 4 feet that you walk, which are means to an end to get you to stay there. Not just about coming into Eretz Yisrael, a hit and run situation, and then leaving. You're coming for 4 days, 5 days vacation, you're leaving. You're coming for 2 weeks, and you're leaving. That's not what the Eibishter wants. Hashem wants you to stay there. Comes the Shilti Giborim and says, no, 5 days is better than nothing. It's like someone, for example, he's not consistent in coming and showing up with his chavrusa. Just making up the case. Show up once, twice a week. Chavrusa, he's there every single day, though. He always comes on time, day in, day out, no matter what, and he doesn't give up on his chavrusa who doesn't come. All right, at least the guy's coming 1 or 2 days. It's better than nothing at all. It's the same idea, says the Shilti Giburim over here. If you're going with the intention of staying, of what? Of returning, you still get a mitzvah. Better that he goes to Eretz Yisrael than he goes to Florida. And it's more expensive going to Israel.
Sure.
Better than going to Vail. Vail's a nice place. But it's not Eretz Yisrael. It's good skiing. It's not like the Harmon over there. But it's not Eretz Yisrael. So let him go to Israel. So that's what the Shilti says. Because of the Shulchan Aruch Harav Shemach Shenechshav Davar Mitzvah Hainu Kishoilo Al Das Lakayim Ba Mitzvahs Hiluch Dalar Amos. V'gam Im Hoilech Shamos Choyer Kosav Sheish Lach Shnik Oilo Davar Mitzvah. So now the Shulchan Aruch Harav says something else. Wow. He says that when we say that you get rewarded, you're going to get the next world if you walk 4 amos, that means you have to have that intention in mind. Let's remind ourselves of something that we learned 12 years ago, mitzvah srichos kavana. When we learned Siman Samach and Hilchos Kriya Shema, we learned before you perform a mitzvah, you have to intend that you're performing that mitzvah for a purpose of a mitzvah. In fact, the only exception, according to the Chai Adam quoted by the Mishna over there in Sifkat and Yud, is if it's evident because of what you're doing it to fulfill a mitzvah. Such as before you take the lulav and esrog the dalamiyim, you're taking that to fulfill a mitzvah. So that we say, stam kavana kemiskavin dami. If you didn't have any intention, it says if you had intention to fulfill a mitzvah. However, walking in Israel, I would say most people's intentions is to party on vacation, is to have a good time. Therefore comes the Shulchan Aruch Harav and says, just one small thing Hashem asks from you, that is intent to fulfill this mitzvah before. Just have the intention. I'm intending to walk 4 amos in Eretz Yisrael to fulfill this mitzvah.
What if the intention is to get some food? They like certain Israeli food.
That's great.
So because they like the Aretz, so they're walking for food.
That's great.
That would probably be good enough, right?
Have the intention that you are going to Israel for the great shawarma that is incomparable in America, but you're having the intention. I'm having the intention to fulfill this mitzvah, this Gemara in Ksubas Kuf Yud Aleph of walk. That's right, walking to the shawarma. You got to have that intention. Now, even business, he says you could be lenient. Yeah, well, so you're walking for business.
If you walk over the same place year after year, it doesn't matter. It's anywhere in Israel you could walk back and forth.
This has to be halachically considered part of Israel.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that in other words, if I walk the same 4 steps every day, like let's say the back and forth, every 4 amos is a mitzvah.
Yeah, that's right.
And the second thing is we talk about strict walking, or does halicha come into play? I mean, I'm driving.
Driving seems like the idea is with walking.
Right, I'm curious about
walk. Yeah, seems like walking, but I would assume you probably get reward for driving. There's a halacha brought down, which is me'ikar hadin. Technically speaking, the entrance that you go into a shul, you should exit out of a different place. Do you remember? Did we ever learn that together?
We might have, but
okay.
but that's yeah.
Okay, what's the idea of it? One idea behind the reason for this halacha is to exit in a different way that you went into the shul, is because now you're going to cover more square footage. You're going to see more of the shul. It will have more of an impact on you. You'll see more of the beauty. It will come into the neshama more. It will inject more kedusha into you, so to say. Same thing with Israel. I would assume, based on that logic, you see more of Eretz Israel. It does something to you. It does something to a person. That's what I would assume over here. The Shulchan Aruch Harav says if you're just strolling on a hike, I'm not sure if that's a davar mitzvah.
Wow.
Maybe that might not be enough to just walk 4 amos, and he says sarachian. So now it could very well be that if you're just walking to stuff your brain to shawarma place or to enjoy a spirited hike, nothing doing.
Well, I didn't mention the shawarma place. The shawarma place is good because you're like,
No, that would definitely be that's oilul atayah. You're going to travel. If you're going there to do a mitzvah, to learn Torah,
they just like do nothing.
Kyle means to take a trip. Why are you eating the shawarma?
He wants to do more walking. I don't know.
Why are you doing more walking?
We have to figure out. I don't know.
Okay. Are you eating more shawarma so you have energy so you could walk more, and you're walking more so you could then get hungry again and stuff your face out with more shawarma? Or are you eating the shawarma? Now I could have strength and I could learn the Torah HaKadoshah properly and perform mitzvahs. That's what we have to ask ourselves. If we're taking that trip so that now a lot of times you see people, serious steigers, you see a lot of times they're learning hours and hours a day without interruption. I'm not talking about the guys who are hanging out in the coffee room or schmoozing. I'm talking about the guy's focus. He's actually learning. You see their legs are shaking. They're so antsy. It's like these guys haven't moved in years, you know? You gotta move sometimes. Get the body moving a little. So if you're walking a little, so you have focus, so you can go focus on your learning. Okay, that's mitzvah. That's what we're talking about. But Stam, so guys traveling. So he could now go to shawarma, and then he could go to the next place and the next place, and he's just going on trips. That's already questionable, says the Shulchan Aruch Harav. I thought this is a very insightful footnote over here. You know, we came with a lot of questions, and we learned the footnote. Feel like we got a lot of answers, but still sarachi and uksas. All right, let's go back inside. That was like a total tangent. It's good stuff. It's good. Okay, so what's the story over here? So the Shulchan Aruch continues and says, if you're oilul Eretz Yisrael, there's a machlokes if that means if you're going to be staying there permanently or just temporarily visiting. If you had the caravan on Shabbos, so it's a davar mitzvah, you could go with them a poisikim on lishvos, and you should stipulate with them that they should stop. And then if they don't want to stop, you could go with them even outside of the tchum, the border of the location over there, more than 4,000 feet, 2,000 amos, because it could be life-threatening situation. You have to tell them, you got to stop. You have to tell them this. And if you're not going to want to do that, so then you can't go with them. You have to tell them that. I can't go with you if you're not going to do that, like I explained in the Be'er Halacha. If you're worried to delay in the desert because animals might come and get you, I feel like when he says chayos raos over here, I feel like the main dangers in deserts are poisonous snakes and scorpions. I don't know if a scorpion is considered a chayos, but I think those are the real bad boys in the desert. Oh, yivkashu bo listim. Okay, maybe there are robbers hanging out in the desert. They might steal your animal. And you're not going to be able to go on your feet because you're already older or you have a medical condition that doesn't allow you to do so. That could be dangerous. Oh, they're gonna take your money. You're not going to be able to live in the desert. You might die over there in the desert. Oh, they might take your clothing when it gets cold. Keep in mind, deserts, they're very hot. That's only during the day. Guess what? At night, they get really cold because it's all open space. There's nothing in between anything. Sandstorms, and it gets incredibly windy. I can't tell you from experience, but based on the knowledge that I have about deserts, these are the issues. Kulam hu b'chlal safek b'kuach nefesh umuter leilech imahem. All of this is included in the category of a doubt of a life-threatening situation, and therefore you're allowed to walk with them because you don't need to get yourself killed in order to do this over here. Chutz l'tchum, outside of the tchum, v'hu adin afilu chutz l'shnayim asar mil namisham. Wow, even if it's outside of 12 miles, also permissible. Ad sheyagia lemakom she'in, until you're going to reach a place. She'in shum chashash shakar nafash lishvar mehem v'yishvasham. Until you're going to reach a place, there's no concern of any life and death danger, and you're going to separate from them and stop. Yishlo misham alpayim l'kol ruach, you have 2,000 amos to any side. Okay, continuing. V'im nechnas li'ir achas v'Shabbos, you're going to go into one city on Shabbos. Mahalach es kulo. You could walk anywhere in the city. V'afilu hinichu machutz li'ir v'roitz l'kanas li'ir mutter. And even if they left you outside of the city, and you want to go in the city, it's permissible. The kavan, because since the davar mitzvah nafak, since he went for mitzvah purpose, yeshul apayim al makor ruach. You could go 2,000 amos in any direction. He says over here like this: since he went out, it was extenuating circumstance that he left that border, because of life and death. Furthermore, since he originally departed in a permissible manner, so therefore it's not going to be considered like other people who went outside of the border, the tchum, in which case they would only be able to walk 8 feet, 4 amos. Magen Avraham says is specifically referring to if you went out to perform a complete mitzvah, not if you went out for business purposes. So this is specifically if you went out for a mitzvah, not for business. Even though according to the Ramah, business is also considered a mitzvah. We discussed this in Sefer Yeshua, it's a mitzvah to work. Nevertheless, regarding that he's able to go in the city, similarly that which the Shulchan Aruch writes, etc. 2,000 to every single wind, to every single direction. You're not allowed to rely on this. Since many poskim in fact argue on this, so therefore we see that there's a distinction that the Magen Avraham is making, that this halacha is specifically talking about if you go for a full-fledged mitzvah, not business. And that's what he says over here. Since he went for a mitzvah purpose. Aval. However, if originally he left for something that was permissible, so originally he took off for something that was permissible, even though right now you can follow them because it's life and death situation over here. And since you transgress that which the Chachamim said, the rabbi said, by going within 3 days of Shabbos, you're considered halachically like other people who went outside of the border of the city, in which case you only have 4 amos, 8 feet. Conversely, if a person went out of the city not within 3 days of Shabbos, before 3 days within Shabbos, even if you went out for optional reasons, vacation, whatever it is, since right now you need to go because of pikuach nefesh, because it's life and death, so now you have 2,000 amos in any direction. Od kasav di'im halach toich shlosha yamim, if you went within 3 days, because you thought shemutter leilech toich shlosha yamim, you were able to go within 3 days. Havilei shoygig v'yesh lo alpayim l'kol ruch v'kin kas v'shar achronim. So if you went within 3 days, you thought it was permissible, and then someone after said the halacha, by the way, you're not allowed to go within 3 days of Shabbos, you're considered accidental, and therefore you would have 2,000 amos to all sides. aka 4,000 feet, around 4,000 feet. Okay, let's conclude this siman. For now, we're going to speak out notes after Yantif on this. This is just the raw mission brew. Yesh Arimim says the Rama, this is a very important Rama. Any time a person is going for business purposes or to see his friend, it's that considered a mitzvah. Now, this is a big chiddush. It's a big insight to say if you're just visiting your friend, that's considered a mitzvah. What's the mitzvah over there? Something optional is only just talking about you're just traveling for no reason, you're just strolling. And therefore the custom is therefore the custom is in some places to be lenient with going on a ship and the caravan even within 3 days of Shabbos. Because they hold that it's a mitzvah. The ein limchois biyada and hoyel v'yeshlam amal yismachu. Don't protest them because they have whom to rely on. They have what to rely on over here. Who to rely on? Big leniency, tremendous leniency. Right? Even if you have money, you have food, you're going just to make more money. There are plenty of people of business. They don't need to work anymore. They still work. Right? So still it's considered a mitzvah. If you're going to collect money from someone who isn't Jewish who's sick, as long as he's not in the deathbed, that's not called a full-fledged loss, and therefore you can't go for that within 3 days of Shabbos. That's the Magen Avraham. The Eliyah Rabba is lenient. That's not going to be worse than going for business. Therefore, you're allowed to go even within 3 days. Could be applicable for a landlord who's correcting rent from someone if he needs to travel further and he doesn't have a super or anything. Lamed Hey, V'halicha Shayara, going the caravan, V'das Magen Avraham B'Shem Kam Poskim V'halicha Shayara in Lahakel. Magen Avraham, other poskim say you cannot be lenient with this, aka with going on a caravan within 3 days of Shabbos if you know that you're going to have to violate Shabbos there.
The boat is okay.
The boat would be okay. The caravan would not be okay. That's the difference that he's making. Excellent point. Last Mishna Berura. Don't protest these people. However, in places that they do not have the custom to be lenient in this regard, in kedai lahakel, preferably you should not be lenient. Many poskim hold that you need a full-fledged mitzvah over here. Okay, so this is all of this. Amir Hashem, we will continue after Yontif. One shaila just to leave everyone with is halacha l'maisa. If should a person try to reschedule an optional surgery, such as, I'm making this just an example, such as if a person's spouse is already considerably after their due date and their doctors highly recommend them getting induced, is there an idea of not getting induced Erev Shabbos specifically, because now they're going to need to stay in the hospital or maybe violate parts of Shabbos? This is based on what we're learning, not to take a cruise ship within 3 days of Shabbos for something optional. Is that optional or not? Or other surgeries in general?
Should be induced and she'll have to stay in the hospital shops.
Yes, you will have to. Maybe the labor could be in Shabbos, maybe be in the hospital. Is there an idea of getting induced maybe 2 or 3 days before Shabbos or after Shabbos? Same idea with Yontif. We're going to be dealing with those shilas and some other very applicable ideas that come up over here. Also, one other shila, is it permissible to go in a spaceship right before Shabbos? We're going to discuss that. Rocket ship could be more nogaya as time goes on. So we're going to have to tackle that as well. All right, everyone have a good Shabbos.
Thank you.
What?
So your email, thank you.
Okay.